My name is Fabiana. I'm a solution implementation manager here at SimilarWeb, and Alicia and I will be teaching you today how to SimilarWeb like a pro. Perfect. So yes, once again, I kind of want to hand it on over to Alicia to introduce herself as well.
Yeah, thank you so much, Fabiana. So thank you, Olga, for the introductions as well. I am the lead travel consultant at SimilarWeb. So I work with our clients on a global level to understand what's happening in the travel space digitally, as well as to optimize their own marketing plans. So today, Fabiana and I will be showing you a few different things. I'm really excited. Fabiana will be leading us through a demo of our Pro platform, and then I will be diving into our new travel intelligence platform where we can actually break out bookings for the top accommodation players worldwide.
Cool. So that's a perfect segue into today's agenda. So we want to cover some of the things that you'll learn. We'll do an introduction to SimilarWeb with the demonstration of both the Pro and the Travel Intelligence demo. Some of the things that you can expect to learn today are, what SimilarWeb is and how to use SimilarWeb to find actionable competitor insights. We're also going to learn how to discover, qualify, and monitor new affiliate opportunities and partnerships. And lastly, how to track bookings for accommodations players at the origin and destination level in order to optimize commercial and marketing strategies. So packed agenda. So a little intro to SimilarWeb. SimilarWeb is a market intelligence platform. And what that really means is we provide insight into the digital health and analytics of every company. People really often ask, how do you collect your data? So Alicia and I wanted to do a few housekeeping rules and talk about our really robust data collection and our data methodology. So the first step within our data methodology is our collection. And it's very unique. We've actually created the industry's most diversified data universe, which we call the Dataverse, of digital signals, and constructed a statistically representative data sets that preserve variety across countries, industries, user groups, and devices. The second process is synthesizing the data. So after the data is collected, we run a sophisticated algorithmic process to clean, match, synthesize, process, and blend the inputs for data modeling. Within data modeling, the data is actually normalized and then run through advanced machine learning calibration and predictive models to provide an accurate and consistent view of the digital world over time. And lastly, delivery. So our intelligence engine generates powerful, ready-to-use insights delivered through our actionable platform, which you'll see today, and also our API to help you make better decisions and grow intelligently. So now that we have that out of the way, we also want to showcase how SimilarWeb is super useful in making decisions, helping you make business decisions and get a better understanding of how you're performing and your competitors are performing throughout all stages of the consumer journey and all stages of the funnel. So starting really top of funnel within the awareness stage, SimilarWeb is able to provide insight into market landscape. So helping you identify who are the leading players in a particular landscape and geographies across the world. So therefore, if you wanted to understand who are the major players in either, hotels, flights, car rentals within a particular geography and who's rising and falling over time, that is something that we can provide awareness on. Second, consideration. So getting a little bit deeper, and now once you perhaps know some of those players, understanding, what's driving traffic to a particular site. So understanding web traffic at a macro level, but then even more specifically from specific marketing channels. So understanding how a given company is acquiring traffic through channels like SEO, SEM. We'll be covering obviously referrals in depth today, focusing on affiliate use cases within the travel space, but also looking at things like on-site search and social. Within the evaluation stage, really understanding website engagement. I like to look at this as a better understanding of your audience, and moving forward to purchase, understanding conversion level data and conversion metrics, even uncovering on-site search data. So what are the top converting terms? You know, are they more general? Are they more destination based? So these are all different, you know, really granular insights we can provide visibility on. And Alicia will actually be speaking to those conversion metrics more granularly and in great detail later on in the presentation. And lastly, experience. So think about, especially in the travel space, loyalty, retention are super key. So understanding, you know, audience coming back and really identifying maximum conversion potential. So now that we've set up the stage, I think it's a perfect time for us to go into the platform. So let me hop out here and welcome to SimilarWeb. So SimilarWeb Pro, this is our widely used platform. We work with a lot of key players in the travel space. One of them being Booking.com, who we're going to understand, as I mentioned earlier, how to get some context as to how they're already performing from a referral standpoint, identify potential new opportunities, do some due diligence on those potential new partners, and then lastly, monitor and track them over time. So what I'm going to do first, type in the handy dandy search bar here, booking.com. So as I mentioned earlier, with SimilarWeb, you can analyze any website in the world. And we're going to head on over to traffic and engagement first to understand, actually marketing channels first, to understand how Booking.com is acquiring traffic today. So a few other things here. I might be biased because I'm from the US. I'm actually sitting in the SimilarWeb office here in New York City. But we're going to look at it through the lens of the US. SimilarWeb actually covers 58 different country markets. And perfect. Let's actually look even at the past year so far. So let's look at 2020. We know it's been quite a crazy time for the travel space with COVID-19 really hitting the industry hard. But as you'll see today, things are looking up slightly and looking promising. So, we hope to see the travel space recover as quickly as possible. So right now we're looking at, from a desktop perspective, which channels are driving traffic to Booking.com. And we can see referrals makes up about 10% of their traffic this year so far. So 1 in every 10 visits is really coming from referrals. What's also helpful is we can see this trended over time, really looking at referrals here, which is this orange line here. Sorry to be in the way, but seeing how that's really, drastically changed over the course of this year. So now we're looking specifically at traffic coming from referrals. We do see, COVID-19 greatly affect the amount of referral visits, but we have seen a little bit of an uptick in more recent months and kind of continued growth. So helpful to get that context to understand how they're performing today. And what we can always do is add in other competitors as a benchmark to see how they're performing against players, in this case, like Expedia and even Airbnb. So with SimilarWeb, you can add up to 5 websites at a time and analyze them against each other to monitor and benchmark performance. So we can look at this in 2 ways, from an absolute numbers perspective, but also from a percentage perspective to see if how these companies are acquiring referral traffic is similar. So we do see, compared to Expedia and Airbnb, Booking.com, their acquisition strategy definitely relies a little bit more on referrals than some of the other players like Expedia and Airbnb. But we will be digging in now to understand who are those referrals, referring domains that are sending traffic to all 3 players. I did want to make a call out too. We're looking at this from a desktop perspective, and we also have the ability to look at it from a mobile web perspective too. So really holistically. So what I'm going to do now is head into referral traffic, really diving into the channel to understand performance and who are those players driving traffic. So if I navigate to incoming traffic, this is going to show us all of the referring domains. We can also get a little bit of a snapshot here as to who's really owning the referral space compared to the competitors. I'm going to actually switch this to the all traffic view so we can see referral traffic coming in from both desktop and mobile web. And actually, when you look at it like that, when we see like who has a piece of the pie, Booking actually has 29% of the total referral visits from January to August of this year. Expedia has about 40%, so they are the larger player, and Airbnb with about 30% of that share. But we can also see that they all experience the same patterns as it relates to referral traffic, due to COVID and shelter in place. So if we scroll down, we can see who are those players that are sending traffic to Booking, Expedia, and Airbnb. You might notice that each of the players are denoted by a different color. So we see Booking is this navy blue, Expedia is the teal, and Airbnb is the orange. And what we're seeing here is which are those domains that are sending traffic, which category they fall in, how much total traffic share they are sending those players, and then we can see which players they're sending that traffic to, denoted by those colors, for example. So if we wanted to look at a player like TripAdvisor, we can actually select down to the drop down and see over time how much referral traffic share they're sending to, in this case, Booking and Expedia. So we're not seeing that they're actually sending any traffic to Airbnb, but we can see month over month how much traffic they're sending. This makes it really easy to compare if compared to your competitors, if they're sending you or your competitors more traffic and how that's changing over time. In terms of discovering new affiliate partners, there's a lot of different ways to do that in SimilarWeb, which makes it such a great tool for affiliate marketers and managers globally to manage this channel. So we can see here we actually have these competitive traffic filters that I love. It makes quickness to insight, within one button, you can understand where you have some opportunities. So I'm actually going to click referral opportunities right here. And the platform will actually just populate all of the referrals that are sending traffic to your competitors and not you. So in this case, we're seeing who's sending traffic to Expedia and Airbnb and not Booking. And just like that, we have an entire hit list of potential partners that we can start reaching out to and growing those affiliate partnerships with. So, once again, we can kind of dig into these potential partners, see what they're doing for our competitors, and get some ideas if they are potential partners we'd want to work with. In terms of tracking, one great feature that we have is being able to add websites to a partner list. So I'm going to create this and say Booking partners. And we can add this to a partner list. We can actually get even more granular too, and I think it might be a little bit more helpful to even look at referral opportunities, but then look at a specific category. So let's say you're an affiliate manager and you realize that you want to start working with a particular category of websites that maybe you're under indexing on and don't have that many current partnerships with, but you want to grow into that space. What I love here is the category distribution will always give you an inkling of what kind of traffic your competitors are receiving compared to you. And then we actually have over 170 different categories within SimilarWeb that you can filter to. And so let's say we wanted to understand where Booking.com has referral opportunities in the coupon and rebates category. Now we've refined this list, and now we have an entire hit list just specifically for that category. And so, like I said, super helpful to monitor these players over time in something like a partner list. Here we have 25 partners that are sending traffic to Expedia and Airbnb. They're not sending traffic to Booking.com. Perhaps this is a space that they're not playing in that they can definitely be leveraging a bit more. Sorry, coupon rebates partners. And so let me create this partner list, and I'll show you how we'll be able to track that over time. I think I just have a character in there that I can't. Okay, perfect. Cool. So like I said, now we're able to track that over time and get back to it. But let's say we have this list and we're interested in a player like Retail Me Not. We see they're sending traffic, you want to do due diligence to see if this is even a potential partner worth reaching out to. So I'm going to start actually using SimilarWeb to analyze Retail Me Not as a site and a potential partner. So now we're analyzing Retail Me Not. I'm going ahead into traffic and engagement to see how much traffic they receive. So right now we're seeing within the time period of January through August, over 215 million total visits to their site within the US. A lot of their traffic still comes, we're seeing 50% of their traffic come from mobile web, about 43 come from desktop. So this looks pretty evenly split for the most part. Good to see that they're getting traffic from both sources. And then we can see things like their monthly visits over time. We can get into weekly, daily level granularity here as well. Look at things like unique visitors, deduplicated audience, which is a metric that I really love, showcasing how much of an audience is coming from strictly desktop, strictly mobile web, or a combination of both to really understand cross-browsing, cross-device behavior. But I think what, the most golden metrics for understanding if a potential partner is receiving quality traffic is looking at things like bounce rate. I always identify as kind of the gold standard for me that shows engaged traffic. So the bounce rate is going to be the percentage of the audience that bounces after visiting solely one page. We're also looking at pages per visit and visit duration to gauge engagement. So once again, it's kind of important to do this due diligence to see if this is a partner that you want to work with. Also, we can add in other competitors to always add context. If we wanted to look at Slick Deals or Ebates as other players in the coupon and rebate space and see how Retail Me Not performs to them, we can do that as well. So just a lot of different ways that we can analyze and qualify these potential partners. So now we've done a little bit more of due diligence. We've also identified potential opportunities. So now let's talk about monitoring some of these partnerships over time. One great thing that I love is within, especially our clients that are in the digital marketing space, in our marketing workspace, allows us to set up a competitive set, as well utilize that partner list to see who's sending traffic to some of our competitors. So I'm going to set up a quick arena here. And arena is really helpful to, for example, set up those competitive sets in different markets if you're maybe a global company or even just your one specific market. So I'm going to set up booking within the US, and we're going to stay on theme here with Expedia and Airbnb. And we're going to name this Booking Competitors. And let's see how we're performing against some of our key competitors. So we're seeing, from a benchmarking perspective, visits, engagement, but I'm going to actually just go on over to the referrals overview. And I think this is a really helpful place for those in the affiliate space when they're using SimilarWeb to understand what does referral traffic look like over time, but where are some potential opportunities? So something I really like in this view, and let me continue to align with the same date range we've been looking at, January through August of this year. We can quantify even like month over month growth rate in the referrals channel, which I think is super helpful in seeing what that performance looks like. But this is my favorite thing, is to see the referral landscape here and just have referral opportunities, your losses easily quantified. So we were looking at opportunities earlier, but even showing you where some of your competitors are beating you. And this is helpful to track very conveniently over time. Also, what are the most highly competitive referrals amongst that competitive set in your arena? And then also where you're actually winning. So this is a helpful way to monitor. Then in terms of partner lists, we can actually always find new partners based off of a competitive set, like we have the booking competitors here. Or what we saw earlier when we were looking at incoming traffic to see, where the certain partners are sending traffic to the competitors in your arena that they might not be sending you, and using that as a benchmark. So this might take a little moment. I might have to refresh the page. But actually, while that's happening, something I also did want to mention is that you can use SimilarWeb to, when you're doing that due diligence, to understand outgoing traffic share as well. So we were looking at incoming traffic share, but when we were analyzing a player like Slick Deals, it's important to understand who they're sending traffic to today, to understand, are they sending traffic to other players in the space? Okay, I think we got that here. Great. But let me go ahead and show you this really quickly. And going to outgoing traffic to see who they're sending traffic to today. So who they have those strong partnerships with. And here we go. So Slick Deals today, you can see even outside of the travel space, they're sending a lot of traffic to major US players like Amazon and Walmart and Home Depot. But using that category distribution again, we can specifically look at players in the travel space and see who they're sending traffic to. And this is really helpful because you can see even in this time period, they've sent 73 other players in the travel space traffic, which amounts to over 370,000 outgoing visits just from desktop. So this would signal to me that Slick Deals is probably a strong partner that Booking could be working with, and that could be a potential strong partnership opportunity. So heading back into the workspace, sorry for jumping over a little bit, but we have those partner lists that help you identify potential new partners, monitor them over time as well. So what you can do is always upload the list of partners that you're working with today and easily benchmark that to the arena and see if the partners that you're working with are also working with some of your competitors as well. So we can always create like a partner list, like current partners, and continue to add up to 100 websites and monitor them over time. The last way to really helpfully identify to monitor this channel and some of these partners is through the use of dashboards. I love our dashboards because they're really highly customizable, but we also create a lot of helpful templates to help you monitor affiliate opportunities as well. So we actually have, this is kind of a catalog of different templates that we have. And you can see here, we have the affiliate marketing optimization dashboard. And so going to put in Booking, you can put in the same competitors that we've been following. You could add different competitors in the travel space, all up to you, super customizable. And all I've had to do is really type in those 3 players and voila, I have this entire dashboard that's going to help me monitor this channel over time. So I think this is super helpful to see things like battlegrounds, how you're competing against those competitors with some of those players, and also identify potential new partnerships. And what I love to do, especially with our clients in the affiliate space, is make a lot of custom dashboards, especially because every month we see very different referrals and affiliate partners that might be, sending traffic to our partners. It's great to track that month over month. We can even get way more granular and look at last 28 days data to see the last 4 weeks of data with a 2-day lag. So there's kind of just endless ways that we can help out those that are managing affiliate partnerships in the travel space. So I hope you enjoyed getting to learn a little bit more about SimilarWeb Pro, how we're working with players like Booking, like travel payouts, like Commission Junction, Skyscanner, and Airbnb as well. I'm going to hand it on over to Alicia. Let me actually hop back into the presentation. Perfect.
All right. Thank you so much, Fabiana. That was a really great overview of Pro. Like Fabiana said, there is so much you can do with referral partnerships through Pro and just looking at a lot of these major companies. I think one question that probably came up is, with a player like Expedia or Booking, we know that they have a ton of subsidiaries that they own, right? Expedia owns players like hotels.com and and Vrbo and a ton of other smaller players. And then Booking on its side owns Kayak, Priceline, Agoda, et cetera, et cetera. The list goes on. So that's kind of where travel intelligence comes into play. I'm really excited to show you all this data set. And before we jump into the actual demo, I am going to give you some background on what this data is and how we're able to get it. So as you can see from the slide, this is probably our most granular data set for travel. And we have been lucky enough to have been working in the travel space for a long time now. So we have a very advanced learning set for our travel data and are very confident in our estimations there. So we've been able to do a lot with it. And namely, what we're able to do with this dashboard is actually show you bookings volumes for top lodging players. So the ones that Fabiana was showing, Expedia, Booking, Airbnb, and then we also have Marriott, Hilton, Accor, Oyo, and Trip.com. And we're looking at those players at the holdings level. So we would be encompassing all of their subsidiaries, and we're able to essentially understand company performance by using this dashboard. And we break those out into online travel agencies versus suppliers like Hilton and Marriott versus vacation rental players like Airbnb or Vrbo. And a few other things to note here are that we're able to look at market share by brand or company. We are able to look at 56 different countries as well as worldwide data. And we're able to actually drill down into destinations at the country, state, and city level, which is really exciting and probably one of the most differentiating aspects of our platform. So if you don't mind flipping to the next slide, Fabiana. Like I mentioned, this data set has a few different things in it, namely monthly mobile and desktop bookings to provide you a holistic view on a company level. Like I said, we're rolling up companies to their holdings level. And these are going to be bookings excluding cancellations. So we're really tracking when a person books. The way that we're able to do that is through the same data methodology that Fabiana presented at the beginning of this webinar, but we're also able to look at confirmation pages, namely through some different kind of segments that are in URLs that are related to confirmation pages. So if you were to go on Expedia.com and go through the purchase funnel and actually book a trip, you would probably get to a confirmation page that has thank you in the URL. So by tracking those thank you pages, we are able to see how many visits were confirmed and essentially how many bookings actually take place. Again, excluding cancellations and a few other factors, but it still gives you a really, really good indication of directionally what company performance looks like and then what destination and origin country performance looks like as well. So I am actually going to share my screen so that we can jump into the platform. And give me 1 second. So let's hop in, and I think this should be linked pretty easily. And we're actually going to start off with the company dashboard. And I'm going to pick Booking Holdings. So like I said, a player that Fabiana already showed us at the domain level with Booking.com in the US. Now we're looking at this whole company, and we're able to see the trend of bookings. So we see that Booking had a pretty nice recovery after dropping off in April, which almost every travel company had the same exact drop off in April. This was a time when most travel companies were pulling out of paid marketing spend. So the market was pretty open. And obviously with a player like Booking Holdings, they've been historically relatively reliant on performance marketing, so it did hit them pretty hard. But after that, we saw a pretty nice recovery. We're starting to see a dip in bookings for almost all players, and really most of that is related to the end of the summer holiday season. So this decrease was actually a little bit less steep than the decrease last year, so still a pretty positive picture. And then as we go into the fall and winter months, I think expected declines, just like I said, at the end of the holiday season. But what we're able to look at for this company is the actual top origin and destination markets. So when we look at Booking Holdings, we see that they are a pretty diverse company. So they have share in a ton of different countries. And you see this other category takes up a ton of share of bookings. So we can actually download this into a CSV and look at what the individual countries are there. Most of them are probably European countries. Booking has a huge footprint in Europe, as you can tell by its main markets. So United Kingdom, Germany, France, Spain, Italy, etc. And its destination share looks pretty similar to its origin share. So origin share would be where people are actually making bookings from. So if I'm in the US and I make a booking, let's say for France, that origin would be US, and then destination would be, let's say I was going to Paris, would be in Paris, France. And we'll get a little bit deeper into that in the destination dashboard. But in terms of the actual breakout of origin versus destination, it is pretty similar across the board for Booking Holdings as a company. Now, if we look at the actual country dashboard, this is where we can dive a little bit deeper into those origin countries. So again, this is a way to really understand consumer behavior. So looking at, okay, what does United States recovery look like with regards to origin bookings? And just looking at this dashboard, especially for affiliate marketers, this is a really great way to start looking at top countries and seeing, okay, where is recovery happening really quickly. So we see in the US, we do see a pretty nice recovery, and we're actually able to compare regions against each other. We've seen that the US has had more recovery than almost any other region. So like I said, a pretty nice recovery with relatively little drop off, especially at the end of the holiday season. So a pretty promising picture. Now, if we compare that against somewhere like France, we see that France really spiked here, especially in July. So not really too surprising. This is when the peak of the summer holiday season is in France. A lot of people are booking for August when most people take the month off. And then kind of after those summer holiday season ended and those bookings stopped coming in, we do see a pretty significant drop off. So I think European declines will be a little bit steeper than US declines between August and September, just because of a few different factors. We're seeing them lose summer holiday bookings, as I mentioned, and then we're also seeing unfortunately, COVID cases are starting to spike in those regions. So we're starting to maybe feel some restrictions happening, at least at the kind of city or state level or union level in Europe. So like I said, really easy to start comparing a bunch of different countries here, understanding what recovery looks like, and then understanding what the breakout of these markets are. So one thing we can look at immediately is the breakout of desktop versus mobile web bookings. What we've seen in the past few months is that mobile web bookings have actually overtaken desktop for the first time in history. So previously we saw that most bookings were happening through desktop. Now the majority of bookings do happen through mobile web worldwide. So this has also happened in France. We see in September of 2020, about 42.2% of bookings were mobile web. And then in September of 2019, we had a much lower share, about 34.3%. So share of mobile web bookings has increased in individual countries. And then, like I mentioned, at the worldwide level, we see that share of mobile web bookings last year was about 43%. Share this year is higher. It's actually a little bit lower than desktop, so 43.4%. It's still increased. In August, I believe we did have that share that was higher. So yeah, 55% mobile web. So something to really look out for, making sure that you're optimizing your mobile web experiences. We've seen this across transactional industries, that just in general, people are really using their phones a lot more for their browsers than their desktop. So going back into France as an origin country, if we look at this whole time range, what we can actually look at is the top destinations for consumers in France. So across this whole time range, we see that about 2/3 of consumers were booking for France, and then most people were going internationally, or the rest of this consumer base was going international. Now, if we look at September of 2020, we see a slightly different picture. About 86% of bookings from France are domestic. Shouldn't be too surprising. Most travel we've seen has been domestic, and most people are booking domestically just given current travel restrictions. So you can really see this clearly articulated in the data, which I think is incredible. And then we're also able to look at market share. So those companies that I was speaking about before, we can see who really owns the market. Booking Holdings, like I mentioned, they're a huge player in Europe. So for a lot of European countries, they do own the market. And then OTAs are just a really big part of this market. And as you can see, when we speak to OTAs, we're mostly speaking to booking, right? It has about 61% of all bookings, and OTAs make up 72%. So the rest of those bookings are going to Expedia and smaller OTAs as well. And then we have a brief demographic breakout to understand really what the consumer base is like in different regions. And you can look at different age as well as gender breakout demographics. So we have a few minutes left for this demo. I want to dive into our destination dashboard because that is the most exciting part of this dashboard for me. And I am going to show you all Las Vegas because Las Vegas has actually been the top destination in the US since the pandemic. So it surpassed New York completely for a few different reasons. And we can get into that in the Q&A if you'd like. But it's really amazing to see Vegas's trend. So first of all, off the bat, what you should notice is that Vegas is heavily OTA dominated. So a lot of bookings, about 3/4 of bookings, happen through online travel agencies. So that should give you some context as we go deeper into this dashboard and explore what this dashboard shows us. So immediately we see the trend of bookings, and we see that Vegas has had a decent recovery, a little bit of a fall off between August and September, but no fall off actually between July and August, which is pretty impressive. We were seeing fall offs for a lot of different places between July and August. So people are still pretty heavy on Vegas over here. And we're able to see the total amount of bookings. We can obviously compare this to any other city almost in the world. So really incredible range of what we have here. And I'm just kind of scrolling to show you the quantity of cities that we're able to examine. And then if we go down, we can see the top origin markets. So most people who come to Vegas are coming from the United States. And like I mentioned before, with New York actually losing its spot as the top destination in the US, if you looked at New York City, you would see that New York City has traditionally had a more international population. So about a little over a quarter of their bookings were coming from international consumers. So that's probably hit them as well. And you can see really this recovery has been pretty stagnant, especially compared to Vegas. So let's jump back into Vegas again. I mentioned earlier that Vegas is a heavily OTA dominated city. And one thing that we're really excited about with the travel intelligence platform is we're able to look at the top hotels booked on OTAs. So for a place like Vegas, this really gives you a lot of market insight into the overall market. And immediately what we see off the bat is that these are the top 100 hotels booked on OTAs. Like I said before, you can download this into a file, you can play with it. But immediately what we see off the bat is that MGM owns 4 of the top properties on this list. And then the others are owned by either independent operators or MGM's main rival, Caesars. So really this starts to give you an idea of who owns the most market share on OTAs. And then you can start to kind of push that out to the whole of Vegas, just knowing that OTAs have such a high market share in this specific destination. So it's a really great way to start understanding directionally what players are winning, what destinations are winning, and then what consumer behavior looks like in different origin countries. And then as well to understand just what overall travel trends are. So like I mentioned earlier, the advent of mobile web for bookings, the just looking at what types of destinations are having the highest year-over-year growth, then you might find some surprising insights there. We saw that most of the destinations that actually had year-over-year growth in the US were very rural ones, were ones that have national parks. So things that I think that we might know anecdotally are either confirmed in this dashboard, or it's able to give you just a broader view of the overall market. So that concludes my very brief demo. I hope that you all found this helpful or at least interesting. Like I mentioned, this is really one of the only data sets of its kind on the market. So we're very excited about it. It is focusing on those larger players, but obviously we're able to get very granular with the origin and destination markets.